Today's SAT question of the day is a question from the math section. It's a kind of weird question. It's one of the easier questions I think I've seen on the SAT, especially the question of the day. Usually they're a bit harder than this. So I'm going to do it anyway, even though it's super easy, just so you can see how it works out. So let's see. Determine the area of the region enclosed by y equals sine of x, y equals cos of x equals pi over 2, and the y-axis. So it's quite clear what we have to do, right? We've got two curves. We got to find the area in between the curves. So we're going to have to do an integral of some kind. Let's just draw out the rectangle to determine what they're going to look like. So if we kind of draw a sample rectangle in here. Whoops, I want to have black. Draw a sample rectangle in here. That's not a regular straight line. We know it's going to have thickness of dx and a height of, in this case, f of x. We'll call that one f of x and this of g of x. And then we got to subtract out the rectangle here, which is going to have a height of g of x. So as you know, it's subtraction of the top curve minus the bottom curve. But notice the top curve and the bottom curve switch, right? Here we got a top, here we got the top over here. So we got to do this in two different components. So the area in between the curves will be the integral from 0 to pi over 4, right? That's where they intersect, of the top curve, which is cos of x, minus sine of x, all dx. And then we have to add it to the next one, which is from pi over 4 to pi over 2. Again, this time, however, of sine of x minus cos of x. So I'm not going to run through the integral for it. It's super easy. When you end up doing the answer and get your numerical answer, you get kind of a weird answer. And the answer is April Fools, ha 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 ha. This is obviously not an SAT question, just wanted to mess with you. Here's today's actual SAT question. If square root of x equals 16, what is the value of square root of 4x? So there's a couple ways to do this. You can actually first just use your calculator. So if we used our calculator, or we did the algebra way, we can say the square root of x is 16, so we could square both sides, and that will get us x equals 256, right? And then we can go from there by then saying, okay, if x is 256, let's just plug that into the square root of 4 times 256. So pull up my calculator, times by 4. This would be 1024. And if we take the square root of 1024, we get 32. So that's one way to do it. So the answer here is B. I think there's a better way to do it than just doing it this way, because you got to deal with a lot of, got to find out what x is, and then you got to plug it in and square root it. It's not hard, but, obviously we want to look for different ways to do this kind of problem. So what I would like to do is basically use our properties of radicals. So we look at this. We're given square root of x is 16. We want to know square root of 4x. Well, if we look at square root of 4x by our radical rules, we know we can break this up into the square root of 4 times the square root of x. And we know the square root of 4 is 2, right? And we know square root of x, well, they give it to us at 16. So this is equal to 2 times 16, which is 32. And again, which is our answer. I think that way is a little more elegant, a little cleaner, a little quicker. But, in the end, if you have to brute force it just by plugging in numbers in your calculator, that's fine. Whatever gets you the answer